Hey guys, Ramsey here. Welcome to another video. Tonight we have a late night insight video on a brand new release from 2024. I just did a brand new review of the new Dior Lucky Esprit de Parfum. You can check that video out. And apparently we are staying on the 2024 theme because I was very kindly sent, which this doesn't always happen. Very rarely do I get to talk about brand new fragrances that are hyped. So today we're going to talk about Frederic Malle's Hope from 2024, created by Dominique Ropion. And I will give you a little preview and say that if you like Angry Ram, stay tuned. Actually, that's not fair. I'm going to try and be calm and collected and professional, but the word I used when discussing this with my friends, my fragrance brothers, Jonathan and Rich Mitch, is underwhelming, and that is being very generous, at least underwhelming. Okay, it's being very, very generous, putting it that way. I think it's also a big slap in the face to everyone who is a Frederic Malle fan, since this is supposedly the last work of Frederic Malle, the man. He is basically retiring, stepping away from the brand, and so it's clear to me that Estee Lauder, the owner of Frederic Malle, basically wants fragrances that cost them very little money to make, and they want to sell it for a huge profit margin. That is their 100% goal. That's what it feels like to me. And they don't really care about the art of perfumery as much anymore. It's as simple as that. So, okay, let me take a deep breath before we go any further. Let's do a quick unboxing. This was actually sent to me by a brand that I know nothing about. So we're going to discover this brand together. But they reached out to me and said, hey, pick one of our fragrances and we will send it to you. And I said, okay, just know that I do negative and positive reviews, but send it on. Send it at your own risk. But the brand I actually think is kind of interesting. The house is called Maison d'Abba. So there it is. And the one that I chose is Silent Night. And if you know your Christmas carols, you will know Silent Night. I'm not going to sing the damn thing, but it's probably in your head right now. Silent Night. Okay. So what's interesting about this brand is they are a Christian brand, apparently, from the very little that I read about them. They're a Christian brand, so you can see why they named it Silent Night, right? Silent Night, obviously a Christmas song, which is a Christian holiday. So the brand Maison, let me just look it up real quick. Maison d'Abba. Maison d'Abba. Silent Night. Okay, so here, let me pull it up. This is $210 for 100 mils, so it is in that niche pricing category. They call it a fragrant masterpiece that encapsulates the essence of fall and winter luxury, which I had to go with this. The other one that they have is a freshie, apparently. At its heart, Silent Night is a unisex fragrance. Those of you who like this sound of opening, nope, and it just fell out, of opening things, will love that. So I guess the bottle sits in this like so, and so the top goes on here. So let me show you, I guess, what it would look like. Okay, it's not really fitting proper. There we go. All right, so so there's kind of the little logo. Indulge in an ethereal olfactory journey of AI ingenuity and perfumery artistry and exotic essence unveiled. Does that say AI? Anyways, okay, so here's the bottles. So that's what the bottles look like. And there's the back. Maison d'Abba, evoke unique opulence. And so we'll see. We'll see what it's like. It says it's a unisex fragrance designed for those who seek sophistication and opulence, crafted with a harmonious blend of art and science. It offers an olfactory journey. So I found it interesting, though, a Christian brand doing perfumery. I mean, there are so many different ideas out there nowadays. And there's like niches of niches of niches, and so I'm interested. And the note listing apparently is bergamot, black pepper, and liqueur with carrot seed, plum, and jasmine, with a base of amber, vetiver, incense, and cedarwood. I mean, my kind of note listing. So I mean, we'll see who I don't know who made it. I don't know anything about the perfumer or really the brand. This is my first foray into the brand, but It says, experience the enchantment of Silent Night and let it be your companion through the seasons of opulence and spirituality. You know, very interesting. There's a little card listing the notes. So, anyways, so another, I mean, I can't keep up, honestly. I can't. One of the reasons why I've had a little bit of a lag in videos is I've just been a little distraught with the state of the fragrance community as a whole, not just FragCom, but I would say just the state of the fragrance world in general, the stuff people and houses are releasing. So let's get on track and talk about Hope. So let me read you the note listing real quick. And so the note listing is juniper, pink pepper in the top, with oud and vetiver in the base, in the heart, excuse me, with a base of amber and leather. That's it. That's all that they tell you. I'll read you the very quick description. Created by Dominique Ropion for the Desert Gems collection. This is the 5th in the collection. Hope fragrance exalts the nobility of an exceptional oud essence. An oud essence. They say that it's the pillar of the world. Others whisper about it giving life. Hope has always been right there at the heart of humanity. The 3rd masterpiece by Dominique Ropion for the Desert Gems collection. On these write-ups, everything's a masterpiece. Hope is an amber and woody fragrance that highlights the absolute nobility of an exceptional oud essence. The smoky, leathery notes of incense and vetiver mingle with the spicy freshness of pink peppercorn, cypress, and juniper. Cypress. I don't get very much cypress. Maybe a tiny little bit, but yeah, it's way back there. To reveal oud in all its purity, a scent of unparalleled elegance. Okay, so first and foremost, we can't go one step further without getting to the fact that every single person so far has compared Hope to Promise. Okay, and I've got a full review of Promise. And if you want my opinion on the whole thing right out of the gate, again, I'm going to try to be professional. Angry Ram is going to stay in the stable. But I think this is a slap in the face to Promise, to compare Hope to Promise, personally. I think that Hope is far beneath Promise in everything, from quality of ingredients to blending to just the way that it makes me feel. Promise makes me feel a certain way. Hope kind of makes me feel disgusting, honestly. I'm a little disgusted by the brand for putting this out. Maybe because Promise, just technically, Promise has castoreum. That castoreum note is missing in Hope. And I like the dirtiness of Promise. I like that the castoreum, which is one of my all-time favorite animalic notes. And, you know, I never smelled anything that smelled like Promise the very first time that I smelled Promise. Except for maybe I did a review of a Spirit of Dubai fragrance called Maydon. That comes to mind. But one of the things about Promise was its originality. And now you can add Hope to it because, you know, I made fun of a Parfums de Marly fragrance released called Haltane. I've got a review on the channel. You can go watch my review of Haltane if you would like. It literally smelled like Parfum de Marly, which is the sister house of Initio, took Oud for Greatness and cloned it, okay, and then released it in a Parfum de Marly's bottle. And you have to make fun of them for that. You know, it smells like they tweaked a couple things here and there, but it really smelled like a clone of a fragrance from their sister house. So you can't give Frederic Malle a pass just because, you know, I would rank them much higher on the niche list. I would rank Initio and Parfum de Marly way down here and Frederic Malle way up here. But I mean, you know, you have to call them out. I mean, if I ranked fragrances, which I don't, Hope would get a 0 on originality. Let's put it that way. It would get an absolute 0. Negative score, maybe. As I said, underwhelming is being kind, okay? And if you're very, very studious, which I'm not going to spray it again because I just sprayed it a couple hours ago, and it is a fairly long fragrance, right? But if you're being studious, when you first spray Hope, at the beginning, I'm talking 10, 20 seconds when it's on your skin, you will get something that reminds you of Initio's Oud for Greatness. Try it. Think about it and try it and see if you get it as well. But I've sprayed this 3 times now, worn it to bed 3 times. Every single time I get this Oud for Greatness $20 cheap Arabian clone thing that hits me in the opening. Now, some of you may disagree, all right? But to me, that opening is kind of like a dead giveaway of Frederic Malle going down this direction that to me and anyone familiar with how the oud game works, um, especially in this bracket of ouds that we're discussing, I would put these type of woody ambery molecules that, seem used in much heavier doses in things like Oud for Greatness at the very bottom of the Oud ranking. Okay. In fact, I think I did put Oud for Greatness at the very bottom of my quote unquote Western style Oud video that I did. So, getting it right when you first spray Hope is really like a bad omen to me. It's right at the start. It's right there. And it's hit me every single time that I've tested this. Again, I've only tested it 3 times. This is a early impression video, if you will. But it will wrong foot you. If you're like me and you hate Oud for Greatness, you will not like the way that Hope starts out. It's a very bad omen, okay? Now, was I hopeful for this release? Well, yes and no. I like the Desert Gem lineup. I've talked about my love of Promise, and I've talked about my love of the Moon. And if you heard me discuss amber woods and synthetics previously, which I did an entire This Is Not a Top 10 on synthetic fragrances, you can go check that out. But these Frederic Malles are done by rock star perfumers like Ropion, Carlos Benaim, Julian Rascanet, and it's really about as well done as you're going to see these type of woody ambery materials used. Okay, the stuff that just gets kicked to shit all over Fragcom for good reason. Okay, but just imagine rough and coarse and scratchy materials, but with a posh sort of upscale bourgeoisie French touch. Okay, that's the Desert Gem line. So when I heard some people say that this was a mix of that Hope was a mix of Promise and Dawn, I started to get a little more hopeful because I really like Promise. And if I was going to buy one more Desert Gem, it would be Dawn. Dawn would be the very first one on that list that I would buy. Plus, but then I started to hear, Rich Mitch talk about, he talked about it very first because I think he is close enough to a Harrods where he can go in there. And Harrods actually had this as a exclusive for the first couple months. So for a few months, it was a Harrods exclusive. And then it just got released worldwide, I think last month in September of, 2024. And, I thought, well, and let's just say Rich was not very kind to it. His thoughts were very similar to mine, that it was a redundant release, that is underwhelming, and he said some other things about it. But I said, well, Rich isn't the biggest amber wood fan, to say the least. He also is not the biggest oud head, so maybe there's still hope for Hope. But upon smelling this, I will say Frederic Malle, the brand, I think made some fatal errors. And it really makes me wonder about the exit. The contentious was the exit of Frederic Malle, the man leaving the brand. Was that, sort of contentious? Did he butt heads with top brass and Estee Lauder? Was he forced out? Did he want to continue running the brand and they didn't want him there anymore because he was stopping their ability to make big money on fragrances? I don't know. I'm guessing, but reason I say that is he was involved in the last release, Acne Studios, which I've yet to smell. I have not smelled that. I have not smelled Heaven Can Wait either. Heaven Can Wait's probably the one I want to smell the most out of the two. But you see him in advertising and videos and talking about Acne Studio, and it was rumored he had a hand in creating Hope as well, that this was officially his last fragrance he had a hand in creating. So you would imagine that you would see him talking at events and discussing the fragrance or doing at least doing videos on it. If he's retired sitting from home, he can't do a 15-minute video on it. But he is mysteriously absent. I mean, silent, gone. Now, part of me wonders if, he just had a hard line in the desert sand, if you will, that he didn't want to cross, and Estee Lauder, they wanted to cross that line. And, when you sell your brand for billions, that's what happens. You lose these type of wars to those people. And part of me wondered if they just got fed up with him getting in the way of them making real money and they unceremoniously kind of kicked him to the curb. I don't know. Again, in pursuit of greater profits, it seems like these brands will do anything. So I would figure at least you'd get an interview or a discussion on this, but nothing. Maybe that's just part of him stepping aside and retiring. I have no idea. So Hope uses pink pepper and juniper in the top, okay? According to the note listing. The top is trying to give you that zing, okay? It's trying to give you that illusion of freshness on top of this huge Middle Eastern fuck you amber, oud, incense, and vetiver base, all right? If you don't mind being the guy people smell across the room when you walk in, Promise or now Hope kind of could be for you. Although I will say Promise is even another level above Hope as far as tenacity and beast mode status. I have professed my love for Promise in my full review. I've professed my love for Promise in my ranked Frederic Malle list video that I've done. And it's one of my favorite Frederic Malle fragrances of all time. But I will say Promise is an absolute Cypriol bomb. You cannot get away from the fact, according to my nose, Promise is one of the reference Cypriol fragrance. I did an entire This Is Not a Top 10 Cypriol video if you want to check this out. Cypriol is like the oud alternative is how I kind of think of it, okay? It's earthy, it's smoky, it's woody, it's all of that. The earthiness in Hope smells like a blend, to my nose anyway, of Cypriol and this fractionated patchouli that Dominique Ropion loves to use. He used it in things like Portrait of a Lady, In the Night, and all this other stuff. I'm shocked the note listing doesn't list Cypriol, number one, which, again, many houses use to kind of help create this oud accord. I talked about it in Roja's Taif oud. Go watch my review of that if you want to check it out. I would call it almost like an embellished oud, okay? In Promise, this is from the brand, this is not me, but they said it's like oud behind a smoke screen, which is a hilarious way to call something an oud accord. It's behind a smoke screen, all right. But I'm shocked it doesn't list Cypriol. I'm even further shocked it doesn't list rose. There's definitely some rose in here to my nose. I'm shocked it doesn't list patchouli. I'm shocked, and especially shocked, even more, especially shocked, it doesn't list green apple in the top, because Promise, and you know, in turn Hope, because Hope borrows so much from Promise, is known for its Cypriol / green apple combination, okay? So I would call both of these fragrances a fruity Arabian style fragrance, okay? So once you get past that 20 seconds of oud for greatness, which when I first smelled that, I was like, holy fucking shitballs, okay? And once I got past that oud for greatness and it really started to shift, I was like, okay, that went away. But, you know, what's crazy to me is that Hope could be described in exactly the same terms as Promise. It's fruity. It's got that Arabian style fragrance. I don't know if they were like, well, let's just use Promise as like a, you know, I don't know, like a skeleton, right? And put some meat on the bones, but maybe just give them a little different note listing this time. But keep much of the structure of the fragrance the same. But if you trust your nose, or if you're watching this, in this case, you trust my nose, I get the green apple, even though it's not listed as a note listing, and I get rose, and all the things that make Promise seems to be in Hope. So when I reviewed Promise, I said that the fragrance was counterpointed by this kind of fruity apple note. And you can see I have a lot of experience with Promise. For Promise, that is a hell of a dent. So Promise is kind of counterpointed on this fruity green apple note. And the same could be said of Hope. Hope kind of turns on the apple note. And the apple note here smells green and crisp, almost like a sour apple cider in a Middle Eastern style fragrance, okay? So I think part of the genius of Promise is using this fermentation of apple. There's like this fermented apple note in apple cider. It's what makes apple cider, this fermentation of the apple note. And in a similar way, your brain is kind of making the connection consciously or subconsciously to this oud being fermented. It was a brilliant stroke of genius by Dominique Ropion in creating Promise, because Promise was the one that was all about sort of creating this oud illusion, as they say, smoke screen of oud, but doing it using other ingredients like Cypriol. Who knows? Maybe there is a drop of oud in here. I don't know. I'm not going to debate that. Whatever the brand says, go with, okay? But there were so many brilliant connections made to Promise that just seemed so original at the time. You know, you think of the vinegar smell of oud, and in both Promise and in Hope, you can make that connection, this kind of apple cider vinegar type feel. But again, this was 2017. So 2017, this was a little bit revolutionary. Here we are in 2024, and this is the best they can do as a modern day desert gem. It feels so soulless. Like I said at the beginning, it feels dirty. Not in a good way that I like either. Usually I like dirty fragrance, but wearing this feels devoid of anything to be excited about, any sort of soul. It feels devoid of that. In a nutshell, it feels like the epitome of the modern day soulless corporate America 2024. That's what it feels like to me. And like I said, it makes me feel dirty wearing this because of the connection to something that's so similar. You know, Roja does something very similar with his houses. I say houses because he also has that Pierre de Valet house, which I will review some from that brand as well soon. But, you know, he'll release a fragrance like Great Britain, and then he'll release a fragrance in the Pierre de Valet line, which smells. Go watch my blind sniff episodes. I've done 5 or 6 of them, and in one of them, there was a Pierre de Valet fragrance that whenever I smelled it, I was like, dude, why'd you send me Great Britain? I mean, this smells like Great Britain. I have Great Britain. What are you doing? But it turned out to be a Pierre de Valet fragrance I had never smelled. And that sort of, I don't like that. Okay, I'm not a fan of that at all. And that's kind of what you get in with Hope. This harkening back to something from the past that they had already done, repackaged. Um, and we'll get to price at the end. But in Promise, the thing is, there's no leather note listed specifically in Promise. There is a note of labdanum, which gives off this very sticky leathery type smell. Okay, so imagine you're sticking your fingers in like a Chinese finger trap or something, and your fingers are stuck. It's impossible to remove them, right? That's what labdanum feels. It feels like this sticky glue. And so just imagine this very resinous, leathery, smoky type feel, right? In Hope, there's no labdanum listed, but there is this leather note listed. And to be honest, which I always try to do as much as possible when I do these reviews, my channel is really just sort of like putting my thoughts, like what comes into my head as I'm wearing a fragrance on paper for you guys. Um, and, you know, there are a handful of things in Hope that I really dislike, okay? One is that Oud for Greatness opening, but that does go away pretty quick. So I could look past that if the fragrance turned into something amazing. But the one that keeps, sorry, throwing this, but the one that keeps coming back over and over, at least to my nose, is the way that leather note feels like you're just smelling like a Lattafa fragrance or a $20 Middle Eastern cologne. I actually have some Lattafa fragrances. I very rarely show. I bought them just for reference to see because everyone was talking about them. I wanted to see for myself. And so this is like Anna Abied Rouge. I just wanted to show you the Lattafa top. These are $20 fragrances, okay? You should not be reminded of woody amber notes in a Frederic Malle that reminds you of a Lattafa. It shouldn't happen, okay? And I'm not saying that it smells like this particular one. I'm just using it as an example. I have a couple of these that I don't usually show because I'm not a fan of the clone houses. And, you know, it just has this, Hope to me just has this level of ambery, woody molecules that, even though many called Promise synthetic, myself included, Promise is a synthetic creation. It was shrouded. It was behind a cloak. It was hidden. It was more mysterious. It was done in that highbrow Frederic Malle feel. Here, in Hope, to me anyways, it feels like they took a further step into this area of fragrance creation that I would not personally like to be associated with if I was Frederic Malle. Maybe that's why he decided it was time to retire. Like, maybe there was no more holding it off. I have no idea. Okay, real quick, sip of water, and then we'll finish this off. Excuse me whilst I hydrate. Okay, so you're listening to this review and saying, okay, so Ramsey hates Hope. Well, not necessarily. In fact, the part I dislike most, that Oud for Greatness opening, goes away in 20 seconds. So if I had a bottle, would I wear this? Yes. Yes, I would. If you gifted me a bottle, I would wear this. It's not so bad that I wouldn't wear it. I would grit my teeth through that 20-second thing, and I you know, get on with the fragrance, okay? In fact, there are some parts of the fragrance that I kind of really like what they did. So, see, Dawn and The Night are the two fragrances from this Desert Gem collection that I don't own, okay? If I was going to buy others from the line, I would buy Dawn, then I would buy The Night, okay? Because Dawn, I instinctively understood the first time I smelled it. I said, this is an incense fragrance through and through. It would just, instantly, as soon as I smelled it, I was like, this is a incense fragrance first. The oud kind of supports everything. But one of the biggest advantages that both Dawn and the Night have is you get this big slug in the beginning of real smelling funky oud in both of them, okay? And it feels like you're getting value for your money. The prices are still outrageous. 100 mils go for over $1,000 on both. The Night may even be closer to 2,000 now. I don't remember. Outrageously priced. The biggest problem I have with people saying that this feels like a blend, that Hope feels like a blend of Promise and Dawn, is that yes, that is true, but you have to almost put an asterisk next to that statement because it feels like it's 80 to 90% Promise, and it feels like you have 10 to 20% of Dawn and maybe some other little things put on the meat of that skeleton that they made. Okay, that's the way it has to be described for you to really comprehend the way that Hope smells if you've never smelled it. So that should change the way that you think about this fragrance. And if you have yet to smell it, it should change the way of how you imagine this fragrance smelling. Because I wish they would have amped up more of the parts from Dawn, to be quite honest with you. More of the dusty, smoky, spiritual smelling incense that seems to just like swirl to the heavens. Feel of Dawn. I have a full review of Dawn. I have a full review of Promise. I have a full review of the Night. I have a full review of the Moon. I have a full review of all of the Desert Gems on the channel if you want to check it out. But instead, you only get slight hints of Dawn and a large imprint of Promise, okay? So like I said, 80 to 90% Promise, 10 to 20% Dawn, let's say, is the way that I would describe it. And Dawn to me has this beautiful combustible feel about it. It feels like, imagine like the fuel source from the sun, this never-ending nuclear fusion. And if they would have given me that fusion of oud and frankincense in a way where they just seem to explode and hit you with this real oud smell, and you're kind of taken back by the blue cheese. Obviously, people say oud smells like blue cheese because blue cheese is moldy cheese. It's cheese that has molded. Well, imagine this sort of dry, woody oud tree that's being infected, and the wood is literally rotten. Well, of course, you're going to have this moldy-like smell, right? And so there's this moldy element to the oud that you get in Dawn. And you get that lacquered, woody vinegar-like smell that I discussed previously. And if they would have done that first in the opening, instead of that terrible oud for greatness thing in the first 10 to 20 seconds, if they would have done that, given you Dawn, given you the combustible aspects of it, and then if they would have sort of taken it into Promise, let's say, later on into the dry down, that could have been a totally different story that we were having here. We didn't get any of the beauty of the oud opening up in Dawn. We didn't get the combustible aspects. And quite frankly, Hope to me is by far my least favorite desert gem by a long shot. It's not even close. I think Hope is the worst. It may even be one of the worst Frederic Malles I've ever smelled. I think I actually liked some of the other ones that a lot of other people hated much more. I'm very, very disappointed in this. I think if I didn't know Promise ever existed, this would be a different story with Hope. But the problem is, this is such an affront to me that they would put this out, especially since it has such similarities to a previously released scent. I hate Hope much more. Hate Hope. Fuck Hope. But I hate Hope much more than I think I would if it didn't carry all the baggage of everything else. But it can't help it. It has to carry all that baggage because, if you know the history of the brand and what they put out, this is Estee Lauder taking the piss. This is Estee Lauder taking the easy way out. The very easy way out. This is Estee Lauder sort of giving us all the middle finger, putting their feet up, giving us all the middle finger, and going to the bar at lunch, and having their 3 margarita lunch and laughing all the way to the bank. So, if I had to guess which of the 5 desert gems Estee Lauder has the biggest profit margin baked into per bottle sold, I would guess it would be Hope. Okay, Hope. This is just my guess. Okay, but from what I smell to what they are selling it for, the return on each bottle sold. I think they're making the most profit per bottle sold on Hope, would be my guess. Okay, and it doesn't surprise me that this happened right after Frederic Malle, the man, left. There may be some connection there, but um, that's it's a little disheartening. We'll talk a little bit about the price here in a second. Oh, I forgot to mention there's a little bit of amped up vetiver in here. Dominique Ropion also made Vetiver Extraordinaire, so there's a little bit of a connection there, if you will. I reviewed Vetiver Extraordinaire on the channel if you want to check that out, but there's a little bit of this peppery sort of vetiver that comes ambery as well, but the amber just kind of blends into everything. So like ambery vetiver, peppery vetiver that kind of seems to leak through into the base, but that's not the reason. That's not a reason for you to pay more than double the price of Promise. Also, some say Cypriol can have a touch of this mysterious smelling earthy vetiver to it itself. So it's all very just, it's like, The only thing I can think of as a reason why you may like Hope more than Promise is the tenacity. Promise is an absolute monster. It may be one of the strongest fragrances I've ever smelled in my life, but that goes to the sort of dichotomy of the sort of classiness of Frederic Malle on one side, but still the power on the other. A lot of powerful fragrances come across as smelling, cheap, lowbrow, whatever connotation you want to sort of give to them. But Frederic Malle is able to create these powerful fragrances in the past and still do it in that high bourgeoisie French kind of style, And so maybe if you're one of those people who doesn't like the beast mode way that Promise wears, which I actually love it. If you're a vintage lover, you may love this type of fragrance. But if you don't like the tenacity of Promise and you want something that doesn't last half a year, then Hope still seems to have kind of some of the ambroxan and stuff like that in the base. But it's like a rung or two below, maybe even 3 rungs below as far as beast mode status goes. So it doesn't kind of, if you don't want everyone in the room to smell you when you walk in, then you may like Hope more than Promise. So one of the biggest disadvantages of Hope is the price. See, Promise here, I got this bottle of Promise for like under $300. I think it was like $275, okay, for 100 mils from a friend, which is a hell of a price to be fair. And I love the value for money that you get for Promise. Everyone loves a deal, right? And price is relative, right? $300 to you may be nothing. $300 to somebody else may be, a ton of money, right? And so I feel like you got a lot of money for your bang for your buck for Promise. Promise, I felt like your dollar went a long way. Now they've raised the price, of course, to $470 for 100 mils of Promise. But for Hope, could they price it just a little bit more than Promise? No. They had to price Hope at $1,140. And again, for 100 mil, that is the ultimate slap in the face to every Frederic Malle fan, I think. Because if you're anyone who knows Frederic Malle's history and Promise in general, it is just a further affirmation that these houses want to create fragrances that cost them as little money as possible to create, and they want to charge you as much as possible. So who knows how much this costs, but there have been many let's say tell-all perfumers who have come out and said, hey, I created this fragrance, this brand sells it for $400, it costs $2.80 to create. Okay, now this may cost more. Let's say it costs 10 or 20 bucks or 30 bucks to create. Let's say it costs 50 bucks. Let's be generous. Okay, I don't know how much it costs, but let's just say it's $50. $1,140. I mean, the markup on this is just mind-boggling to me. I think it's a pure slap in the face. I think they're just laughing at us. Laughing all the way to the bank, of course, is what they're doing. But, there is no way in hell that I would buy this. I would buy Hope. No way in hell. No way. Not a chance in hell would I buy this. So I'm sure there are some people out there who have bought it. I'm sure there's some people out there who love it. But for me and where I'm at, there's a fragrance that I've been testing since it's just here on my desk, the new Maxim fragrance. This has Kinam Oud. This has real South Oud, Thai Oud, Hindi Oud, real ambergris, all these amazing things. And I think it's $400 bucks or something. Now, again, it's a 30 ml bottle, but I feel like value for money on something like this, or some of the Bortnikoffs, or some of the Aries Ladores I've discussed, or, you know, these type of brands. If you're going to spend that much money on a fragrance, especially an oud fragrance, I better be absolutely blown away. And not only was I not blown away, I was really, really disappointed in Hope. Hope, again, I started with underwhelming. We'll leave it at underwhelming. This is a very underwhelming release by Frederic Malle. Very, very disappointed in the brand. I would like to smell some of the other newer stuff I haven't smelled. I actually have some samples of Frederic Malle that I can talk about more on the channel soon. Some of the old school ones that I haven't reviewed yet. So there'll be some positive reviews. I really think Frederic Malle was one of the great niche brands. I just don't know if they still are, to be quite honest with you. I think that torch has been passed to others. So anyways, that's sort of my take. Again, I've been a little down on the fragrance just world in general lately. So I've been wearing some of the classics, like I wore Shalimar the other day, and man, I posted a picture of this bottle on my Instagram, and I just, every time I wear something like this, that feeling of, oh my God, it's so good, you know? That's the feeling that perfumery should give you. And this modern stuff is just so unbelievably soulless, you know? It gets me down. I do it for the channel, for you guys, obviously. But wearing this, man, has depressed me. Hope has done the opposite of hope. Hope has literally depressed me. And, you know, it's just the soulless corporate America thing, I think, that's really gotten me down. Everything is about money. When everything is about money, you know, money has to come secondarily in my way of thinking. I feel like, you know, you should do it for the love of whatever you do. You know, if you're a cookie baker, baking the best damn cookie you can bake should be your number one priority. Making money cannot be your number one priority if you're a cookie baker. You have to bake the best cookie first, then maybe the money will come. And I feel like a lot of corporations have lost that fire, you know, to do the best at what they do. Now it's all about making money. And if they can do it on our backs as consumers, then they will. They don't care, you know. And I think that is a little disheartening. It's a kick in the nuts, slap in the face, whatever you want to call it. So anyways, ramble off. That's my take on Hope. If you have experience with it, I would love to know your thoughts. Let me know what you think. If you think I was too hard on it, if you found some redeeming qualities. Either way, as always, it's a pleasure doing these videos for you guys. I love you. There'll be some more live streams soon. Take care. Cheers. Catch you next time. Bye-bye.